Welcome to a very much delayed video on Conan Exiles lore. I've had the script for this video ready for quite some time, but I just never got to making it, and due to at least one person asking for more, I've decided to finally finish it. So if you're looking for someone to blame for this fresh new hell, I suggest you blame Ari Collins. Now this video will be about the Picts, and we start at the Pictish Islands, which were a chain of islands at the far west of Thuria and Atlantis, during the Thurian Age, which came to an end in a great cataclysm that took place somewhere between 35,000 BC and 40,000 BC, though according to some, it could have been as late as 18,000 BC. During the Thurian Age, the Picts were a thriving barbarian society capable of metalworking. They also had an ancient feud with Atlantis, and due to frequent raiding expeditions, the Picts had colonies on the continent of Thuria as well. We can learn more about this age and the various kingdoms and characters that played a role in it in Robert E. Howard's Cull of Atlantis stories. The Picts, as Howard imagined them, was a sort of combination between the historical real-world Picts and the American Indians. The historical Picts were a confederation of peoples who lived in the northern and eastern Scotland during the late Iron Age and early medieval periods. Howard told H.P. Lovecraft that he had first read of the Picts in histories of Scotland, but said these were bare mentionings, mostly in disapproval. Later, in New Orleans, Howard found a book detailing British history from prehistoric time up to the Norman conquest. The book was meant for schoolboys, but was written in an interesting and romantic style. However, Howard claims that this is where he first learned of the small dark people that first settled Britain. In this book, the people was referred to as the Picts. Howard claimed that he felt a strong sympathy for the Picts, and decided then and there to adopt them as a medium of connection to ancient times. In Howard's imagination, the Picts became a strong warlike race of barbarians with an honorable history of glories and a great king named Brand MacMorn. Howard's Picts appear in many different contexts, from living underground to fighting off invading Romans from pre-Celtic Britain to fighting Norsemen in Scotland, to being invading savages inhabiting the wilderness that stretches from the western borders of Aquilonia to the sea. The Picts are always on the outer fringes of the world. In Howard's story titled The Lost Race, the Picts are a degenerate savage people and have devolved from what they once were. It is mentioned that this is, at least in part, due to their interbreeding with the red-haired cave-dwellers that they drove into the wild hills of the west and north after the Celts did the same to them. The line of chiefs, however, has kept their blood pure, and the current chief in the lost race, Brand MacMorn, represents the race as it once was. From the lost race, we learn that the Picts were the first race of man, a nameless tribe with their origins somewhere in the northwest of North America. After them came the Lemurians, then the Atlanteans, and after that came the Celts. From their origins in what we now know as North America, the Picts drifted southeast to a group of islands which would be known in the Thurian Age as the Pictish Islands. In the wake of the Great Cataclysm, the Picts fled eastward and migrated into South America during the Ice Age. After that, they moved on to Atlantis, where they drove the Atlantean Cro-Magnons into Europe. In Europe, the Atlanteans displaced the Neanderthal beastmen. After an internecine conflict, a portion of these pre-Picts made their way into Africa. From this point, the story of the Picts converges with that of history. In the course of their history, the Picts have seen a number of successes and failures. Their last failure, and the one that they never bounced back from, was their interbreeding with the cavemen in Europe. With the general population devolving into savages, the pure bloodline of the chiefs was not enough to preserve the race's former glory. In Howard's story, Worms of the Earth, Bran Mak Morn, the current chief of the Picts, strikes a deal with a subterranean race known as the Worms to help him in his war with the Romans. One of these creatures is encountered in Conan Exiles in the dungeon known as the Dregs. It is known as the Abysmal Remnant. It is hinted that these creatures were once humans before the Picts, or their ancestors, drove them underground where they devolved, a common theme among Howard's fantasy races. There is also a hinted connection between these worms and the old ones from the Lovecraft mythos. Striking deals with, or actually having almost any contact with an old one, or any of the so-called gods of Relief, almost always leads to physical and mental degeneration, and it's very possible that, with this deal, Bran Mak Morn may have doomed the Picts forever. There is supposedly a connection between the Picts and were creatures, with Pictish warriors rumored to be able to take on the form of wolves, but I couldn't find any solid evidence of this in the stories. If anyone knows more about this, feel free to mention it in the comments. I do recommend that anyone who is interested in the Pictish lore go and read the Bran Mak Morn stories. There are also a lot of audiobooks available on YouTube, and I will link one below. In Howard's story titled The Lost Race, the Picts are a gender.